Hello, my name is Chris and welcome. This is Chris's Country Kitchen and today we're going to make an apple pie. So first you need a nice apple, and I like Yellow Delicious, and it calls for 6 to 8 apples. But I like the little fuller pie, so I tend to go to the 8. So anyway, here's my apples peeled and sliced and ready to go. And I'm going to pour in 3/4 cup sugar, 1/4 cup of flour, 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg, and 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. And then you want to take your spatula or spoon and stir that around. And what you're doing is you're trying to marry this with the apples, and it'll get a little juicier sitting in the bowl. And you always want to do this first before you do the dough. I will highly recommend doing that because if you don't, then your dough could sit there and get hard, and it's not as good when you make the dough up first. So anyway, there's my apples ready to go, and I'll just set them over here. And the next thing you want to do is you want to take your bowl, and I have in this bowl a cup and 3/4 of flour, and I'm going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of salt and mix that up. And then this is the very important part. You want to add the oil, 1/2 cup of canola oil into this. Just pour it right in, get it all in there real good, all of it. And then you want to stir just a little bit till it gets to be like pea size. There you have it, not very much, and I'm done. So next thing you do, you're going to take 3 to 4 tablespoons of water, and you're going to add one at a time into that mixture and stir ever so lightly. Add another one in and do this gradually, one at a time. And I think one more, 3 will be fine. Okay, because if you add more, sometimes it gets really mushy. So anyway, you do that, get that all stirred up, and what I like to do at the very end, I'll take my hand and I will go in and pick it up, and I'll just take it and scrape around the outside of the bowl. And the moisture, the dough is very nice and soft. You want to take it and divide it in half, and the first part you're going to take and you're going to smash it down with your hand and make it like a round circle and put it underneath the wax paper there. Now this is the trick. You want to take your rolling pin, and my trusty rolling pin without the handles, and you want to go up and down, and then you want to go sideways. And you go one way, and then you go the other way, and then you go back this way until it all comes out. And I've got 2 pieces of wax paper here that I try to make the top of the crust come to the top of the paper and to the bottom. And if the paper slides, then just pick it up and reset it, and then make sure you can keep your rolling pin to make a round circle as much as you can. And I will take my pie dish here, a 9-inch pie pan that I'm using to make this particular pie, and I will pick it up and I will use it as a guide. So that looks good. So what I want to do is I want to take and peel the top layer off, and then I'll pick this up and I'll flip it over, and then I'll peel this off, this bottom layer. And if it comes, you start it and it comes, just use your fingers to take it off the wax paper, if that's the case. And then it'll peel right off. Okay, so now what you want to do is you want to take your 9-inch glass pan, and you want to carefully lift that up and put it over. And then before I release it, I sort of look at it and say, yeah, that's pretty good. Because you're not going to worry about it being just perfect. Take it off. Okay. And then I just like to put my dough down in there and smash it in there. And this pie crust is very flaky, very moist. And I don't like thick pie crust myself. So this is a recipe I got out of Betty Crocker, but I changed it a little. I don't like the so much salt in it. Which reminds me, I forgot to add a dash of salt in my apples here. Just calls for a dash, so because you just don't want to have that salty taste to your pie. Okay, so there it is. And like I said, you don't want to get too fussy about pie crust. And once you're ready for the apples, like I said, stir them around a little bit. And if you have extra, that's what I like. We have a little snack. So anyway, put your apples in your pie crust here. And yeah, it's a nice full pie that I like because it will shrink down. You know, the apples will bake down a little bit, and so I like to have a full pie here. Okay, and then you want to put 2 tablespoons of butter on top of your apples. So I've placed 1 chunk right in the center, and I'll put some around the side, probably about 4 or 5 little dabs around the pie. And this will make your apples cook up and be really juicy. So, and it makes a good flavor. But Yellow Delicious is really the apple I like to make it with. Okay, so I'll set this aside, and then I'll take my wax paper and I'll use the sides that don't have any dough on them. I'll flip them over, get my second piece of dough, flatten it out in a circle, and put it down, and put this back over top of it, and take my rolling pin again, roll it out. And it just takes practice, you know, don't get worried. This isn't, you know, something that if it doesn't turn out, you just piece it together. Sometimes that's what I end up doing. But anyway, just do it that way. Okay. And you got to go in the center sometimes and really push it out towards the edges. But then pick your pie pan up, and then you'll know if it's gonna fit okay. Okay, so let me pick my pie pan up. I need a little bit more in the side here and over here. So I don't know if you can see that, but that. Because nothing's worse than having your crust be not large enough to fit over your top. Okay, take that off, peel it, flip it over, and then, just like I said, just gently peel it off of the wax paper, and it should come up pretty easily. And you know, right now my kitchen is a little warm, so that makes sometimes a difference when you bake. So here I am. You can see my sides aren't perfect, but when I put it over, I'll show you, like that, and then you just peel it off, just like that. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your knife, and I usually like to, right about here, put it underneath that, and I can just about tell how far in I want to, or how far I want my overhang, my ledge, to be on the pie. And I just get a little, keep going around here and keep it sort of uniform. Like I said, I'm not one to have a really thick crust, an edge. So once I get this done, then I want to take take my fingers, and what I do is if there's thickness under there, I'll pull it out. But then I'll roll it under on the lid of the lip of the pie pan, and I'll just roll this under, and you'll be able to tell if you need any more dough. You can always add a little extra from the pile here and just put it in there and just add it. You know, it's nothing that people are going to notice. And then you roll that under, and if it's any thickness, I just sort of spread it around that way too. And I go all the way around, and it doesn't take long. And once you're done, then I use this finger, and I'll use my fingers here, and I'll push in, and then I'll crimp with these two fingers, my thumb and my index finger, and I'll just go around real quick like that, and all the way around, make my little design. Everybody does it different, you know, so you can do your own design, but I like this. It makes a nice little edge, and just want to do that real quick. And then when you're all done, you need to slit your pie, because if you don't, it has to have the steam to be able to rise. So you really need to put slits in your pie. Okay, so I take my knife and I go right down the center, and then I like a little starburst here and here and here, 3 on this side and 3 on this side, and like that. Okay. And one thing I did forget was over here, I got on my cupboard a cinnamon sugar mixture, and I'll just put that on top. Makes it sort of pretty. And that's all it is to making an apple pie. It's very easy. And I like to put a ring, or you can put foil on to guard it against it from being brown. And what I found is that I will put it in, it'll be at 425, the oven, and it'll be about 40 to 50 minutes. But they say to take the ring off, and I found that if I leave the ring on, it browns it just right. So I usually leave my pie in from 40 to 45 minutes. And like I said, some say the book says 40 to 50, but it depends on your oven how hot it is. Okay, so that's ready to go in at 425. And here's another little trick. I take this extra dough on top, and I'll flatten it out, and I will take my wax paper again, my trusty rolling pin, roll this out, okay? What I'm gonna make is a little cinnamon roll, because my kids always wanted, when I was done, to eat the cinnamon roll. And what I do is, like I said, take that wax paper, and then flip it over and peel it off. And if it doesn't come up one direction, go the other, you know, just see which way is the easiest, okay? Then you take your knife and take your butter, which is soft, and spread this, okay, with butter, and then cinnamon and sugar mixture. You can add more sugar if you like. That's all I do. And then I'll take it and I'll roll it up like this. Doesn't have to be fancy, just like a little roll, and come towards you. And then when I'm done here, I'll take more butter and this way the cinnamon and sugar will stick. Put that on top, like buttering it, okay? And then take my cinnamon and sugar and just go down the roll, okay? And then cut it in half, so there's 2 little logs. And I will grab behind me a little tin that I always use, put it in, and the last 10 minutes of my pie baking, I will actually stick this in and bake it